Or are you going to take the plunge? To cease not seeking until you find, even. Knowing will trouble you before it amazes you. To discover the interpretation of these sayings? Look, I'm not here to convert anyone. I'm not saying you should throw away your beliefs or that this is the only truth. What I am saying is that these teachings offer something valuable, a different perspective through which to view reality. The gospel of Thomas doesn't demand anything except curiosity and willingness to look within. It doesn't promise heaven or threaten hell. It simply says, here's what's true about you. Wake up and see it. These questions are just as relevant today as 2,000 years ago. Maybe more relevant, given how disconnected we've become from our true nature. So what do you think? Does this resonate? Have you encountered these teachings? How do they land for you? Drop a comment and let's explore this together. Antarctica. Just saying the name conjures images of endless white, howling winds, and a world completely cut off from everything we know. It's twice the size of Australia, bigger than all of Europe, and holds 90% of the planet's ice. Yet most of us will never set foot there. And maybe that's exactly how it's supposed to be. For centuries, this continent was just a blank spot on maps. Explorers knew something had to be down there, but they had no idea what. When they finally arrived, what they found wasn't just ice and snow. They found mysteries that still don't have answers. Let me start with something that caught everyone's attention back in 2016. Satellite images captured a mountain in the Ellsworth range that looked different, not just unusual. It looked like a pyramid. For sharp faces, a pointed top, rising about 4,150 feet from the ice. When you see it from above, the resemblance to the pyramids of Giza is hard to ignore. Scientists say it's natural. They call it nunatak, which is basically a peak that sticks out above the ice sheet. Wind, freezing temperatures, and millions of years of weathering can carve rock into surprisingly geometric shapes. The Matterhorn in Switzerland has a similar triangular appearance. But here's the thing that gets people talking. Most natural peaks have one, or maybe two flat faces. This one appears to have four. That kind of symmetry doesn't happen often in nature, and it's not the only one. Looking at satellite images of the area, there are other ridges and formations nearby that have these strangely regular lines, square bases, symmetrical slopes. If you didn't know better, you'd swear someone built them. Now, I'm not saying ancient civilizations were constructing pyramids in Antarctica, but the fact that we can't easily get there to investigate makes the whole thing even more intriguing. Temperatures ranged from 13 to 21 degrees Celsius. No long, freezing winters. Just life, thriving in a place we now consider lifeless. Recent drilling has pushed this timeline even closer to us. Scientists found ancient pollen in sediment layers that show parts of Antarctica were covered in tundra as recently as 12 million years ago. That's practically yesterday in geological terms. So here's the question nobody wants to ask out loud. If Antarctica was warm and green for millions of years and only froze over relatively recently, could something or someone have been there before the ice came? Mainstream science says no. Humans have only been around for about 300,000 years, and Antarctica's been frozen for at least 14 million. The timeline doesn't match. But then you hear stories like the one about the geological team near the Doubleday Glacier. They reported finding a massive stone structure with columns and foundations that rivaled a Roman amphitheater. Stone blocks, artifacts, coins with strange animal symbols. No peer-reviewed study ever confirmed it, and the story faded. But it never completely went away. And then there's the Piri Reis map, created in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral. This map shows the coastline of South America with remarkable accuracy for its time, but it also shows something else, a southern landmass in the exact location of Antarctica. And it's not drawn as a frozen wasteland. It's drawn with a coastline, as if the ice wasn't there. Supporters of alternative history theories say this proves the map was copied from much older sources, possibly from a lost civilization that knew the world before Antarctica froze. Historian Charles Hapgood argued that a prehistoric seafaring culture mapped the entire globe, including an ice-free Antarctica, thousands of years before recorded history. Now, most academics reject this idea. Existed, but hadn't found yet. But the detail in the Piri Reis map is hard to dismiss completely. It makes you wonder what sources the admiral was working from. Modern technology has added fuel to the fire. Satellite data and ice-penetrating radar recently revealed a massive ancient landscape buried beneath East Antarctica. It's the size of Belgium. Valleys, ridges, river systems, all hidden under ice for at least 14 million years. It looks like the terrain of Northern Europe. Hills, plateaus, waterways. A place that could have supportive vegetation, maybe even wildlife, during warmer periods. What changed? Why did Antarctica freeze so completely? The answer involves Earth's climate cycles. Our planet goes through warm periods and ice ages. The last major ice age peaked about 20,000 years ago and ended roughly 12,000 years ago. During these cycles, entire landscapes can transform. What was once green becomes ice. Sea levels rise and fall. Species adapt or disappear. Antarctica's transformation from a lush continent to a frozen wasteland is one of the most extreme examples. But there's another factor some researchers bring up: crustal displacement. This theory suggests that the outer shell of the Earth can shift over the inner layers, moving continents into new climate zones. If something like that happened in the past, it could explain how Antarctica moved from a temperate zone to the South Pole. It's controversial, and most scientists are skeptical, but it's not entirely dismissed. Edgar Cayce, the so-called sleeping prophet, made predictions in the early 20th century about major changes to Earth's axis. He claimed Antarctica would one day become fertile and inhabited again. He spoke of dramatic climate shifts, rising seas, and entire regions sinking. Whether Cayce was tapping into some ancient memory or just making wild guesses, the idea that Antarctica was once inhabited and could be again continues to fascinate people. Now let's talk about what's under the ice right now. Not ancient civilizations, actual life. Antarctica has more than 400 subglacial lakes trapped beneath the ice sheet. The most famous is Lake Vostok, buried nearly 4,000 meters deep. This lake has been sealed off for possibly 15 to 25 million years. No light, no contact with the surface, just immense pressure and cold. When Russian scientists finally reached the lake's surface in 2012, after drilling for over a decade, the water shot up through the borehole under pressure. The mission ended before they could collect a proper sample. But what they learned changed everything. Other lakes have been successfully studied. Lake Mercer, located under the West Antarctic ice sheet, revealed a thriving ecosystem of bacterial life. Despite complete darkness, no oxygen, and crushing pressure, microorganisms were not only surviving, they were thriving. Some researchers believe these lakes could support even more complex life. Forms like microscopic worms or creatures similar to tardigrades. Lake Enigma is even stranger. Ice-covered, with bizarre structures on the lake bed that look like carpets and tree-like formations. Rich microbial mats, bacteria that had never been seen before, forming cooperative and parasitic relationships. It's a level of biological complexity nobody expected to find, and it's not just the lakes. When ice shelves crack and collapse, they expose parts of a seafloor that have been hidden for centuries. Under the George VI ice shelf, scientists found large corals, giant sea spiders, fish, octopuses, all living in total darkness. The size and age of these creatures suggest they'd been there for decades, maybe longer, feeding on nutrients carried by deep ocean currents. In another case, while drilling into the Filchneron ice shelf, a research team accidentally discovered a boulder on the seafloor covered in stationary animals like sponges and filter feeders. They were 260 kilometers from the nearest sunlight. No one expected life to exist there. Yet somehow they were feeding, growing, surviving. Antarctica is not dead. It's teeming with life in places we're only beginning to explore. But there's one feature on this continent that still baffles people. It's called Blood Falls. Deep in the McMurdo Dry Valleys, a bright red waterfall flows from the front of the Taylor Glacier. It's 5 stories high, and the color is so intense it looks like the glacier is bleeding. For decades, no one knew why. The explanation is almost as strange as the site itself. More than 5 million years ago, this area was submerged by the ocean. When the sea retreated, pockets of salty water were left behind and sealed under layers of ice. This ancient lake, now buried 400 meters beneath the glacier, is rich in iron and completely cut off from oxygen. When pressure pushes this iron-rich water through a crack in the ice, it reaches the surface and the iron oxidizes. It rusts. The result is that vivid red color. But the real discovery was what lives in that water. Extremophile, microorganisms that survive without light or oxygen, feeding on iron and sulfur. These microbes have been isolated for millions of years, evolving in one of the harshest environments on Earth. They're giving scientists clues about how life might exist on icy moons like Europa or Enceladus. Some people, of course, think Blood Falls is more than just geology. They believe it's a vent connected to a hidden underground structure, maybe even a lab. They think the red water is a byproduct of experiments, not just oxidized iron. There's no evidence for that, but the idea persists. And speaking of ideas that persist, we need to talk about the legends. The Ningen is one of the strangest. Described as a massive, pale white creature with a humanoid shape up to 30 meters long, it's said to appear in the icy waters around Antarctica. Japanese research vessels have reported sightings, witnesses describing a smooth, silent figure rising from the water before vanishing beneath the waves. Its face is said to look eerily human. 2 small eyes, a wide, expressionless mouth. Some versions say it has arms and hands. Others describe it as more fish-like, with fins almost indistinguishable from the icebergs. The first modern mentions appeared in Japanese online forums in the early 2000s, but the legend spread quickly. Some believe it's an unknown marine animal, maybe a relic from when Antarctica was warm. Others think it might be intelligent. A few even suggest governments know more than they're admitting. Then there's the Kraken. Though usually associated with Norse mythology, the Southern Ocean has its own versions of giant sea creatures. In 2016, satellite imagery near Deception Island showed a long shadow in the water that many thought resembled the legendary beast. Scientists identified it as a sea stack, a rock formation. But given that colossal squid inhabit these depths, it's easy to see why the idea won't die. But not all the stories are about monsters. Some are about ghosts. Throughout the 20th century, explorers and scientists reported strange sensations in Antarctica, feelings of being watched, unseen presences, walking beside them in the snow. The extreme isolation and months of complete darkness create an atmosphere where the mind can play tricks. Sir Ernest Shackleton himself reported that during a desperate trek across South Georgia Island in 1916, he felt like a 4th person was walking with his group, even though only 3 were present. Both of his companions confirmed they felt it too. The story of the Jenny is even darker. In the 1840s, a British whaling ship reportedly found a schooner trapped in the ice near the South Shetland Islands. The crew of the Jenny was still aboard, frozen solid, upright at their stations. The captain's final logbook entry read, May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I'm the only one left alive. The Hope left the vessel undisturbed, and the Jenny was never seen again. In the McMurdo Dry Valleys, personnel have reported hearing unexplained noises near abandoned huts, footsteps in the snow, doors creaking, voices on the wind. Some researchers claim tools would go missing, only to reappear later in the exact same spot. Scientists usually explain these experiences as psychological effects of isolation. The human mind isn't built for prolonged exposure to such extreme environments. Auditory illusions, feelings of unease, they're all documented responses to sensory deprivation. But not everyone accepts that explanation. Now, here's where things get political and stranger. In 1938, Adolf Hitler authorized a secret Antarctic mission. Officially, it was about whale oil. Germany was preparing for war and needed to reduce dependence on Norwegian imports. Whale oil was essential for margarine, soap, and other products. The Southern Ocean seemed like a solution. On December 17, 1938, the MS Schwabenland left Hamburg with 82 men aboard. Their destination was Queen Maud Land, an unclaimed territory in Antarctica. Over the following weeks, they launched seaplanes that surveyed over 600,000 square kilometers. They dropped aluminum darts, marked with swastikas to claim the land. They called it New Schwabenland, New Swabia. The mission returned in February 1939, just months before World War II began. They brought back thousands of aerial photographs and geological data. Much of it was lost during the war or remained unpublished for decades. Some documents didn't surface until the late 1950s. The rest, some believe, were deliberately hidden. After the war, rumors started spreading. People began questioning what the Nazis really wanted in Antarctica. Some believe the expedition was meant to establish a permanent base, a hidden installation far from enemy reach, a last redoubt for the Nazi elite. Then, in July 1945, 2 months after Germany's surrender, a German submarine appeared at an Argentine naval base. Another submarine arrived the following month. Neither commander gave a satisfactory explanation for their long journeys. Some believed they had delivered high-ranking Nazis or valuable cargo to a hidden outpost before surrendering. No physical evidence of a Nazi base has ever been found, but suspicion deepened with Operation High Jump. In 1946, the United States launched the largest Antarctic military expedition in history, led by Admiral Richard Byrd. It involved over 4,700 men, 13 ships, and dozens of aircraft. Officially, it was a scientific mission for training and mapping, but the scale was unprecedented. The mission established a base called Little America 4 and conducted extensive aerial surveys. More than 1.5 million square miles of Antarctica were photographed, but the operation was cut short, ending weeks earlier than planned. Aircraft were damaged. There were unexplained losses. Rumors started immediately. Some believe High Jump's real goal was to locate a rumored Nazi base. Others point to the fatal crash of a flying boat that killed 3 crewmen. And then there are the stories about what Admiral Byrd encountered. According to certain accounts, Byrd's aircraft entered an area that shouldn't exist. A temperate zone amid the ice. Green valleys, warm air, unknown flying objects in the sky. Some sources claim he made contact with beings from an advanced subterranean civilization. These accounts were never part of any official report. But in 1960s, a document began circulating, allegedly Byrd's secret diary. In it, he describes being guided to a landing strip in a hidden valley. He claims he was welcomed by tall beings with luminous eyes. Agartha is a mythical kingdom said to exist within the Earth. According to Hollow Earth theory, our planet contains vast inner spaces, cities, even oceans. The people of Agartha supposedly possess advanced technology, vehicles that fly without fuel, the ability to manipulate natural forces, The diary claims the Agarthians warned Byrd about nuclear weapons and the destructive path of human civilization. They told him to return with their message. Then they sent him back through the ice. The document has never been authenticated. Many believe it's fake, but Byrd did give a rare interview in Chile in March 1947, where he warned that America might one day be attacked from over the polar regions. Some think that was his way of hinting at what he saw. Byrd continued working in Antarctica through the 1950s. He died in 1957, just months after his last trip. To this day, the full story of Operation High Jump remains unclear. And then there's the technology question. After World War II, strange flying objects started being reported worldwide. Silent, incredibly fast. Displacement. People wondered, were these alien craft or advanced machines built by German scientists? During the war, Nazi Germany worked on jet aircraft, long-range rockets, experimental propulsion. Parts of the Nazi leadership were deeply interested in the occult and hidden powers. Two groups are often mentioned: the Thule Society and the Vril Society. The Vril Society believed in a mysterious energy force that could power machines and enhance the mind. According to theories, Nazi scientists tried turning these beliefs into real technology. Three names come up repeatedly: Honebu, Vril, and Die. Glock, the Bell. These were supposedly experimental aircraft, disc-shaped, silent, powered by unknown energy, possibly anti-gravity. Die Glock is the most famous. After the war, Operation Paperclip brought hundreds of German scientists to America. They helped develop U.S. rocket systems and advanced aircraft. Some believe they also brought hidden knowledge about flying disc technology. The theory goes deeper. Some believe the Nazis didn't build these machines alone. They had help, contact with non-human beings, whether from another planet or dimension, who share their knowledge. And after the war, Nazi leaders supposedly escaped to hidden bases in Antarctica, continuing their work in secret. There's no solid evidence. Most documents are missing or unverified, but the stories never disappeared. If anything, satellite technology has brought more attention to Antarctica's mysteries. One satellite image showed a long trail in the ice ending in a massive, dark object, half buried. It looked like a crash site. Another photo showed a strange oval structure with smooth, curved edges, possibly a buried craft or entrance to an underground facility. Perhaps strangest of all was the image resembling a massive face staring up from the snow. Deep in southeastern Antarctica, it looked like eyes, a nose, a mouth, all carved into the ice. Some called it an alien face. Others compared it to ancient statues. Scientists offer logical explanations for most of these sightings. Weather, ice movement, pareidolia. But for many, the explanations aren't convincing. The fact that Antarctica remains one of the most restricted places on Earth only deepens suspicion. That restriction goes back to the Antarctic Treaty, signed on December 1st, 1959. 12 nations, including the United States and Soviet Union, agreed that Antarctica would be used only for peaceful purposes. Military activity was banned. So were nuclear tests. Countries couldn't make new territorial claims. On the surface, it seemed noble, but the timing was suspicious. This was the height of the Cold War. Yet somehow, rival superpowers agreed to completely demilitarize the largest unexplored landmass on Earth. For theorists, it raises one question: what was happening in Antarctica that was so important? Today, access is strictly controlled. Scientists need approval, training, special equipment. Tourists can visit coastal areas under supervision, but the vast interior remains almost completely inaccessible. Certain regions are off-limits. Aircraft can't fly over specific areas. Some believe alien technology is buried under the ice. Others think Antarctica was home to a lost civilization. There are those who argue governments are conducting secret experiments there, The secrecy, the surveillance, the restrictions, for them, it all points to something being hidden. While conspiracies swirl, scientists continue their work. Antarctica is a natural laboratory. Deep ice cores hold climate data going back over a million years. The discovery of the ozone hole in 1985 showed how Antarctic research uncovers global threats. But Antarctica faces a new kind of invasion. Non-native species are reaching the continent, carried by ships, aircraft, even people's shoes. In 2014, a hydroponic facility was overrun by springtails that had never been seen in that region. The entire facility was shut down and sterilized. A mushroom fly found in a sewage system refused to disappear for over 20 years. Marine species like mussels have been found along the peninsula, likely transported by ship hulls. These tiny invaders can change entire ecosystems. And then there's the biggest question of all. What happens when the ice melts over the past century? Average global temperatures have risen dramatically. The Antarctic Peninsula is warming faster than almost anywhere else. In some regions, temperatures have increased nearly 3 degrees Celsius in 50 years. Antarctica holds 90% of the world's freshwater. If it melts, sea levels will rise globally. The complete melting of the West Antarctic ice sheet alone could raise sea levels by more than 3 meters. Some scientists believe that by the end of this century, warmer temperatures could allow grasslands and hardy plants to grow along the fringes. Invasive species like bluegrass have already been spotted. Within 200 years, certain areas might support limited agriculture. Barley, potatoes, grazing animals. Antarctica may become green again, but the cost will be catastrophic. Rising seas will threaten coastal cities. Ecosystems that survived in isolation for millions of years could be overwhelmed. The untouched wilderness may be lost forever. The forbidden continent is no longer silent. Its glaciers are cracking. Its weather is shifting. Its secrets are beginning to